Hello, dreamers. I'm your storyteller from my DreamEase Tales. I know many of you love listening to our stories to drift off to sleep, so before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more dreamy tales. Where are you listening from, and what time is it where you are? Drop your answers in the comments. I love hearing about the amazing places our stories travel to and the cozy moments they create. Now settle in, take a deep breath, and let's begin tonight's journey into dreamland. The snow fell softly over the small village, blanketing the rooftops and cobblestone streets in white. Smoke curled lazily from chimneys, and the air was filled with the mingling scents of pine and freshly baked bread. In the heart of the village, tucked away in a small, warmly lit workshop, lived Clara, a weaver known for her extraordinary skill. Clara was not a wealthy woman, nor was she of noble birth, but her hands created wonders. Her scarves and blankets were unmatched in their beauty and comfort, bringing warmth to homes throughout the region. But Clara had a secret. Beneath the ordinary wool and cotton of her daily work, she wove something far more magical when the stars came out. Late at night, when the world was silent and the only sound was the crackle of her hearth, Clara would see threads of gold and silver shimmering in the air. They were invisible to everyone else, and even Clara didn't know where they came from or why she could see them. She only knew that when her heart was still, the threads would appear, as though waiting for her hands to give them purpose. These luminous strands wove into the fabric of her most cherished pieces she never sold or showed to anyone. She kept them hidden away in a wooden trunk at the foot of her bed, unsure of what to do with them. Perhaps, she thought, one day she would find someone who truly needed them. One frosty morning in December, Clara was setting up her stall at the bustling Christmas market when the village postman approached her with a curious expression. He handed her an envelope sealed with a golden crest. Clara had never seen such an envelope before, and as she opened it, her hands trembled. Inside was an invitation written in elegant script. Dear Clara, you are cordially invited to the midwinter ball at the King's Palace. Your skill as a weaver has not gone unnoticed. We would be honored by your presence. Clara blinked at the letter, certain there had been some mistake. Why would the king's court invite a humble weaver like her to a grand ball? But as she looked around, the other villagers smiled and nodded, murmuring their approval. You must go, said Mrs. Foster, who sold pastries at the next stall. It's a great honor. Clara didn't know what to say. She thanked the postman and tucked the letter into her pocket, but as she walked home through the snow-dusted streets, doubt crept into her mind. She thought of the grand halls of the palace, filled with nobles in fine gowns and glittering jewels. What could she possibly bring to such a place? That evening, Clara sat by her fireplace, the invitation resting on the table before her. Her black cat, Willow, purred contentedly in her lap as though urging her to decide. Clara picked up the letter again, running her fingers over the golden crest. The words seemed both thrilling and daunting. As the stars began to appear in the dark sky, Clara made her decision. If she were to attend the ball, she would not pretend to be someone she wasn't. She would bring what she knew best, her weaving. And so, with a deep breath, she reached for her loom. The golden and silver threads shimmered as they appeared, brighter than Clara had ever seen them. She began to weave, her hands moving with a rhythm that felt almost otherworldly. The hours slipped by unnoticed as she worked, pouring her heart into every strand. She thought of the snowy mountains that surrounded the village, the warmth of her neighbors' laughter, and the quiet beauty of the stars. By dawn, Clara had created a cloak unlike anything she had ever made before. It was soft as a whisper and seemed to glow with its own light, like moonlight reflected on fresh snow. She held it up and marveled at how the golden and silver threads shimmered together, as though they were alive. When the day of the ball arrived, Clara packed the cloak carefully and began her journey to the palace. The roads were long and covered in snow, but she pressed on, her boots crunching through the drifts. Along the way, she came across an elderly traveler who had fallen in the snow. He was shivering and pale, and without hesitation, Clara offered him her scarf and a piece of bread from her bag. Thank you, my dear, the man said, his voice trembling. You have a kind heart. Later, Clara came across a young girl crying by the edge of the forest. The child had become separated from her family and didn't know how to get home. Clara knelt beside her, wrapped her in her warmest blanket, and walked with her until they found her parents, who thanked Clara with tears in their eyes. By the time Clara reached the palace gates, her legs were weary, but her heart was full. She had given away most of the things she had brought with her, but the golden silver cloak remained safely wrapped in her bundle. The guards at the gate looked at her curiously, but let her pass when she showed them the invitation. The palace was breathtaking. Its grand halls were adorned with evergreen garlands and golden ribbons, and the air was filled with the scent of spiced cider and pine. The ballroom, where the midwinter ball was already underway, shimmered with the light of 1,000 candles. Nobles in dazzling attire twirled across the marble floor, their laughter ringing through the air. Clara hesitated at the doorway, suddenly feeling very small and out of place. But as she stepped into the room, she took a deep breath and slipped on the golden silver cloak. Instantly, the room seemed to hush. Heads turned, and gasps of awe rippled through the crowd. The cloak caught the light in a way that made it seem alive, its golden and silver threads weaving together in a dance of radiance. Whispers spread as nobles marveled at the craftsmanship, their eyes wide with wonder. "Who is she?" someone asked. Clara felt her cheeks flush as she was approached by a man with a kind face and a crown upon his head. "The king." "You must be Clara," he said, his voice warm. "We've heard of your skill, but nothing could have prepared us for this. Your work is extraordinary." Clara curtsied, her heart pounding. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I'm honored to be here." The king smiled. "This cloak, it's not just beautiful, it carries something more. Tell me, what inspired you to create it?" Clara hesitated, unsure of how much to reveal. But as she looked into the king's kind eyes, she decided to speak the truth. "It's woven from dreams," she said softly. "Dreams of warmth and light, of kindness and hope." The king studied her for a moment before nodding. "Then it's a gift not just for the eyes, but for the heart." The night passed in a blur of music and conversation. Clara danced with the nobles, her cloak catching the light with every turn. People came from every corner of the room to admire her work, and for the first time Clara began to see herself not as a simple weaver, but as someone who brought magic into the world. As the ball came to an end, the king approached her once more. "Clara," he said, "your gift is rare, and it's clear that your heart is as kind as your hands are skilled. Would you consider staying here at the palace as the royal weaver? We could use someone like you." Clara thought of her small village, of willow, curled up by the fire, and the neighbors who always stopped to chat at her stall. But she also thought of the people she had met along her journey, and of the way her golden silver threads had brought joy to so many. With a smile, she said, "Your Majesty, I would be honored, but only if I may return home often. My magic comes from the quiet of the stars, and from the kindness of the people I love." The king agreed, and Clara stayed at the palace, weaving wonders that were admired across the kingdom. But no matter how grand her life became, she never forgot the snowy village where her journey had begun, or the dreams that had first appeared in the stillness of the night. And every year, at Christmas time, she returned home with gifts of warmth and light, bringing joy to the people who had always believed in her.